Hi, this is Laura Thomas here. I am just about to throw out all the contest entries that we had this summer for the Junior Authors Short Story Contest. We had 1,843 entries. They've been taking up space in my office for far too long, so I'm about to get rid of them. But before I do that, now that the contest season has wrapped up and everybody that paid for feedback has received their feedback, I have some notes that I wanted to share with you just on this simple aspect of formatting your manuscript. Whether you're sending it to a contest or a publisher, I want to give you some tips for just some basics that you want to follow when you are submitting something. Some publishers, some contests will have very specific ideas, but most of them will kind of expect that you know the industry standards. And when a contest judge or a editor who's swamped with reading lots and lots of stuff gets your piece and sees that it's been formatted properly, it automatically, in the judges or the editor's eyes, makes them think that you actually have taken some time, you're studying your craft, that you're actually, perhaps the story is going to exceed their expectations. So it's just a really nice way to get your foot in the door with a great first impression. So a couple of things I'd like to just talk to you about are simple things. When you are asked to put your title and contact information and your name at the top of the page, of your first page of your manuscript, please do so. I notice a lot of people submitting poems for the poetry contest that we have on now have not been putting any information on the top of their poem, not even their name. So if something happens with the paperwork, it becomes really difficult for me as the manager and administrator of the contest to try and find everything and put it all together. So just out of respect for the time for the person managing this huge amount of work that comes in, try to follow the instructions, and the key thing is always put your name and contact information at the top of the page. We don't need a title page. You want that information right on the top of that first page. This isn't school. You're not handing in an assignment with a cover page. So it's just everything goes on the top of your manuscript's first page. Watch too with margins. You don't need big fat margins down the sides of the page. 1 inch on all sides is just great. When you have a big fat margin, your story or your poem gets spread onto many more pages, so when we print that off, it just generates more paper that's going to end up in the shredder. So it's just waste paper. The other thing is, for font size, I know it's hard to know. When we used to just write on typewriters, we just had one font. Now you have millions of fonts, but the standard one that we all appreciate when we're reading your work is a 12-point font, not smaller because we have to squint, not bigger again because it wastes paper, and just a simple Times New Roman is great. That's the standard. So 12 point Times New Roman would be really the way you want to go on that if you want to meet the industry standard. A couple things about paragraph formatting. There seems to be some confusion I saw when I was looking at stories and reading them this summer. Some of you are writing in massive paragraphs, or your whole story is in one giant paragraph. Probably there's something going on there that needs to be looked at. You need to give the reader a breathing point. There's got to be a reason why if you're writing one giant paragraph, it should really just be about one thing. But your story will have many things in it, and each new thing deserves its own paragraph. So does dialogue. When a new character speaks, don't run your dialogue back and forth, two characters talking all in one great chunk of text. It makes it very difficult for the reader to follow. So all of these tips with formatting are about making this an enjoyable experience for your reader. Do not make them work too hard, because as soon as you make them work hard, they want to stop reading. Not nice, right? So you want to keep it easy, keep it digestible. You want their eyes to flow across the page in your story world or in your poem without them even noticing the words on the page. That's really where you want to go. So dialogue, start when a new character speaks, start a new paragraph. Now, how do you format a paragraph? I think the internet has messed us up a little bit. In my day, we didn't write a paragraph with no indents and then leave a space and then start a new paragraph. What we traditionally did was we would tab in by one, and that would signal the start of a new paragraph. So you tab in, you type your paragraph, start a new paragraph, tab in, type. And each new line of dialogue would be the same. Each new line of dialogue is a new paragraph. You tab in and you continue typing. Now I think there's some confusion because we have the old school and then what we see on the internet now, which is mostly a paragraph with no indent separated by space. Choose one. All I'm saying is just choose one. I prefer the old school. That is really the more traditional way you would want to submit a manuscript to a publisher. Go with the indent. Forget about adding extra spaces between paragraphs unless you're showing a jump in time or scene or point of view where you would actually have what we call a hiatus and you want to show that. Otherwise, you really just have a bunch of paragraphs tabbed in on the first line. And if you're not sure what the tab is, we all have tab key on our computer right here, and just hit that one time and it'll tab you in once. So that's an important thing, because what I was seeing when I was reading a lot of these is I was seeing a tab and a space, or I was seeing big spaces. I was seeing all kinds of crazy formatting. So just stick with one. If you're going to do internet style, block paragraph, no indent, space, that's fine. But for my contest, and I think for your own habits as a young creative writer, I would strongly urge you to switch from the internet style to just a manuscript is you tab in once, write your paragraph, start a new paragraph, tab, etc. Okay? I think that's just about all that I had for you today, although one little thing I did notice is it's pretty standard, but I was surprised by how many people sent in stories this year that were centered on the page. Generally, even when you're submitting a poem, you kind of leave it up to the publisher, if they accept your work, to publish it in a visual way that suits their publication. As the writer, you're not really asked to make those decisions as to whether it should be, justified center or this or whatever. So really everything should just be justified to the left side of your page. That includes your poetry, short story, novel, manuscripts, everything. That's just the standard and the way to go. Anyways, I hope these tips have been helpful, and let me know if you have any questions and I'll see if I can answer them again. Have a great day and keep writing.